Hi, this is Jonathan Smith, President of New York Metro Area Postal Union. And today I want to have an intimate conversation with you. When I went to visit some facilities that I represent, I had a conversation with some longtime union members. And that conversation disturbed me. And I want to share that conversation with you today. And the conversation was circled around, why should I belong to the union? And what does the union do for me? And the reason that conversation disturbs me, because what their impression of what a union should be as opposed to what a union is two different things. And one of the things that one of the employees were saying that disturbed me was, I feel and I think. No one cares what you feel, no one cares what you think. When I argue a case, it's about what can I prove. And if I can't prove it, I don't have a case. And sometimes you got to realize that there's some things in the contract that might be morally wrong, but contractually right. And I want to have this conversation with you today about the benefits and the accomplishments of the union throughout the years. Let's talk about paid vacation and holidays. The Postal Service pays postal employees for their vacation time and for their holidays, not because they want to, not out of the goodness of their heart, because we negotiated a contract that says that they have to. Let's talk about the work week. 8 hours work in a day, 40 hours work in a week. And if you go beyond that, the Postal Service must pay you time and a half. They do not do this out the goodness of their heart. They do this because we negotiated that clause into the contract. Let's talk about health insurance. The Postal Service pays you health insurance, and they do not want to pay you health insurance, trust me. And the whole idea behind the hiring of the PSEs is the Postal Service don't mind paying our salaries, but the cost of health insurance gets very costly. So they wanted an employee that they could bring in and pay a decent salary, but they didn't want to pay health insurance. Thus, the PSEs were created. You have to realize that there were a lot of people that came before us. They went on the Postal Reorganization Act, they went on the postal strikes, to fight for the rights that we have today. In fact, my grandfather was a longtime postal worker. And my grandfather used to tell me about when he came to work, there was no such thing as an 8-hour work day, a 40-hour work week. He had to work until the job was done. That was the only thing that was required. And he was proud to do it. There was no such thing as clerk work, mail handler work, carrier work. There was just postal work. And whatever he had to do to get the job done is what he did. Let's talk about sick leave. They have to pay you sick leave if you're out, the Postal Service, because we negotiated it in a contract. And if you have a long-term or continuous condition, there's FMLA. Think the labor movement for FMLA, Family Medical Leave Act. It says that no employer can penalize you for having an illness. Before that law came into effect, they used to fire you for being sick. Let's talk about privacy. They do not have a right to disclose your private business. They do not have a right to go and all your co-workers know what's going on with you. Why? Because labor movement negotiated that into the law. And let's talk about a pension. Because of the labor movement, because in particular APWU, we negotiated terms of a pension that the Postal Service and the law says that you must get a pension. And last but not least, no layoff. We protect you against layoff because of the language in this contract. And the thing that disturbs me most, we have a lot of non-members running around talking about, oh, they get benefits that they don't earn. Everybody wants something for nothing. But it costs a lot of money to fight for these rights, to fight for these benefits. And instead of you saying, what is my union doing for me? Why don't you ask yourself, what are you doing for your union? Because in my conversation with these employees, I asked these employees, each one of them being in the union more than 20 years, felt as though they were doing their duty just because they paid their union dues. They had never in over 20 years come to a union meeting, never been to a union rally. In fact, it disturbed me that the last time we had a rally against Staples, we had more people from other unions than from the postal union itself to fight for our own jobs. How motivated would you be to fight for a right that they're not willing to fight for themselves? Ask yourself, instead of what can I do for my union? What is my union doing? Instead of asking yourself, what is my union doing for me? Ask yourself, what am I doing for my union? Let's look at the World Trade Center on 9/11. The World Trade Center was destroyed, and we had a facility less than a block away from there. Anybody that worked in the World Trade Center, and thank God a lot of them got out with their life, they didn't have a job to go back to. Not one person in that facility ever lost a day's pay, because this lousy contract that people complained about said that the Postal Service must keep those employees gainfully employed. So they were sent to other facilities, but they were able to pay their mortgage. They were able to pay their car notes. They were able to take care of their daily needs and their children and put food on the table because of this same lousy contract. And you have to remember that the motto of the union is all for one and one for all. And we must stick together, because the greatest strength of the union, that's why it's called organized labor. Us sticking together. We can do together what I cannot do alone. So when you think of union, you and I make a union strong. Thank you for your time. God bless.